Like my money background, production value of my channel is really going up. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Claudia. Nice to meet you. And I make videos about university, college, being a student in London, masters, careers. So if you want to know more about those things, then stick around and please hit that subscribe button. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how that sounded really British. Actually, a lot of you guys reached out to me, either via the comment section or through private messaging, and I got a lot of questions regarding costs and rent prices, etc. So I thought this video would be a good breakdown and a good helpful tool to navigate you through financial needs of being a student in London. So I'm going to be going through what I spend as a student in a month in London. I'm going to break it down in a month and also going to break it down by week so you guys get those two different perspectives. Also going to be talking about the difference between being a student in London and living in West London and being a student in London while living in East London, because the disparity of costs is also very different depending on what area of London you're living in. This video will go through what it costs to be a student in London. It doesn't include anything that you're going to be spending in your personal life that isn't really related to being a student in London. So yeah, make sure that you take that into account. And also, quick disclaimer, this is my personal spend. So of course it's going to differ from person to person depending on your lifestyle, depending on your demand for things, depending on a bunch of other factors, of course. So the categories that I'll be covering in this video are rent, transportation, utilities, groceries, eating out, and entertainment. Those are the bulk costs that you will need to cover if you're coming to be a student in London, and I will leave timestamps here. So if you want to focus on a particular category, feel free to go straight to it. If you kind of want to have a holistic overview of what it costs to be a student in London, then please feel free to watch the whole video. Moving on to rent. How much does it cost to be living in London? Again, gonna give you two different perspectives, East London and West London. So just to break it down a little bit, every year I've been in London, I've pretty much changed accommodation. So I've lived in 4 different places, and the range of prices has gone from around 160 a week up until 220 a week. I would say that range overall is on the lower side of rent prices in London though. So in my first year of university, which is 2016, I moved to London and I was living in private student accommodation in Bethnal Green. Just to give you guys a little bit more context, Bethnal Green is in Zone 2. Zone 2 prices are usually a little bit cheaper than Zone 1. The further you go out from central London, the cheaper the prices get. That year I paid around 220 a week for rent, and a month that equates to 880 pounds a month on rent. A little bit steep, yes, but I would say that most universities in London will charge that, if not more, a month for rent. So that is what I paid in my first year, East London, Zone 2. Second year and third year, I did change places, but the price range was fairly similar, so I'm going to group them together. I was living with my friends. I moved out with my friends, and we were living very close to campus in Mile End. It was around a 5-minute walk from Queen Mary University, and there I paid around 160 a week, which equates to 640 pounds a month in rent. A lot cheaper, significantly cheaper than my first year living in private accommodation. Again, I was renting out a flat with my friends, which is why it was a lot cheaper. And to be honest, it was more fun, convenient. I would really recommend you to do the same if possible. In my 4th year, which is this year, as I'm doing my master's, I'm not actually in London right now because of the coronavirus, but I would have been paying 202-ish a week, which equates to 808 pounds a month on rent. That is extremely cheap for the location. So during my master's year, again this year, I was living in Baker Street, which is very central West London, and West London prices, as I was saying, West London prices and Central London prices are a lot higher than East London. So the fact that I was able to find a place for 808 pounds a month was actually extremely cheap. For me, the main things that I prioritized was proximity to campus and price. So it was fairly close to campus, it was cheap, I didn't really care that it was a shitty flat. So yeah, it was a trade-off. As you can tell, I spend around 640 up until 880 a month on rent. Prices can vary, of course, depending on location, as I've mentioned, but that is what it costs me, and that is probably what it will cost you to be a student in London just on rent. The next category I'm going to be talking about is transportation. Now, I'd say transportation along with rent are probably the biggest bulk of your budget a month in London. The two of those are extremely expensive compared to other cities. For transportation, I would say I spend around 100 to 120 pounds a month. That would depend on how many Ubers I take and how many free ride-sharing app codes I have, but that is the range. A week, I would say around 25 pounds a week. This is because I have a Oyster student card. If you are an international student and you don't know this, coming to London, please do get an Oyster student card. This will give you 30% on all travel cards for buses and trains as in subway and tube. So yeah, it will give you 30% off on public transportation in London. For travel cards, if you don't know what they are, they're basically packages that you purchase a lump sum on. So you pay a lump sum amount in the beginning and you can use it for a set period of time, say a week or a month, unlimited amount of times for that lump sum price that you paid. So I would pay around 25 pounds a week for a travel card with unlimited rides throughout the week, which I thought was, you know, quite cost efficient, given the fact that if I was to just take one trip, it would be £2.40, £2.40, and that just wasn't worth it because I found myself going on the public transportation quite often. Of course, on nights out, I would take Uber back home with my friends, so that accounts for some of the transportation costs as well. I would say because we'd always share an Uber, between 5 of us or 6 of us, you know, we'd order a large Uber. It would amount to around £5 a person for each Uber ride. And I would say if we say that we went out around once a week, or we had to take Ubers home once a week, that would be around £20. So around £100 to £120 a month on transportation, and around £25 to £30 a week on transportation. For utilities, including Wi-Fi and broadband, it cost me around £20 to £30 a month. Again, this differs from West London to East London, and it also differs from season of the year because, of course, in the winter you're using heating, which takes up more electricity or gas depending on what you use for your heating system. So while I was living in East London, I was living with 3 other people. So in total, we were 4 people in a flat. And because of that, my utility costs were a lot lower. The more people you live with, of course, the cost will be shared and divided amongst more people, and then per person you'll be paying less. When I was living in West London, I was living with only 2 other people, which meant I was paying more for things like broadband, I was paying more for things like water, etc. Those things that have fixed costs are usually split between the people that are in the flat, and the more people you have in the flat, the less you'll end up paying. So overall, it was around £20 to £30 a month. Also, a lot of the places in London, if you're renting a nicer place, a flat or something, utilities will already be included in the rent prices. So I'm not going to go, you know, through this too much more because usually it is included. Okay, so the next category is groceries. I would say groceries in London are not extremely expensive. London is fairly comparable to groceries here in Portugal, depending on, of course, where you shop. While I was living in East London, I would always go to a Lidl, Big Tesco's or Aldi, and that would cost me around £50 a month on groceries. I'm not really able to say how much I spent in a week on groceries because a shop would last me a lot longer than a week, and it really differs. But for me, I have really simple plain meals. I am notoriously known within my friend group for having really boring plain meals, and I mean that for me is okay because I'm just really not picky about what I eat. So my groceries are fairly cheap. My master's year, when I was living in West London in Baker Street, it was a lot more expensive than £50 a month, mainly because you can't really find large supermarkets. So every time you buy something, you have to buy in the small Tesco's Express or the small Sainsbury's or Co-op, and in those supermarkets it tends to be a little bit more expensive. Not extremely expensive, just slightly higher markups. So I would spend probably around £75 to £80 a month on groceries. Also in West London, you're more likely to go shop at an M&S or Marks and Spencer's they're the same thing. At an M&S or Waitrose or Whole Foods, because they're more predominantly in West London or Central London, and you won't be able to find budget supermarkets like Lidl and Aldi like I mentioned before. So you're more likely to be shopping at higher end luxury supermarkets, which will of course inflate the price of your grocery spend a month. East London, I spend around £50 a month on groceries. West London, I spend around £75 to £80 a month on groceries. Next thing is eating out. I would say eating out in London, again, pretty comparable to other cities. It depends, of course, on your appetite, depends on what kind of restaurants you like, it depends on whether you're looking for Michelin star, Gordon Ramsay kind of restaurants, or if you just want to, you know, grab some good food with your friends, casual, you know, no need to dress fancy. So I am the latter. In a month, I would spend around 105 to 110 pounds on eating out. I usually spend around 15 pounds a meal every time I go out to eat with my friends. That is, I think, quite standard. In Portugal, if I was to eat out with my friends, I would spend 50 pounds, around 10 pounds to 20 pounds a meal as well. Sometimes I go out to eat once a week, sometimes I go out to eat twice a week, sometimes a little bit more than that. It really depends on the occasion, depends on the month. So if it is a month where all your friends have their birthdays, I'm going to be spending a lot more on meals outside. October. I'm going to average that out to around 7 times a month that I go out to eat. 15 pounds a meal, that's around 105 pounds a month on my meals outside the house. Okay, last category, entertainment. I didn't originally want to include entertainment into this video because I want it to be kind of like the essential costs that it will take you to live in London. But I think to a certain extent, entertainment is also pretty much a crucial, vital cost that you will definitely come across whilst you're a student in London. Otherwise you will have no friends, and you know that will be quite sad. So spend a little bit on entertainment. Don't go full out, but try to, you know, put a little bit of money aside to socialize. I probably spend around 50 pounds to maybe 100 pounds a month on entertainment. Again, depends massively on what I'm doing that month. If it's Christmas, I'm going to be spending a little bit more going out, going to, you know, Winter Wonderland, ice skating, etc. Usually I do hang out with my friends at home. We cook together, we chill at home together, we should live together, so that wasn't really a reason for us to go out and spend money. So yeah, I think 50 pounds a month is realistic for what I spend a month on entertainment. So yeah, in a month I would spend around 955 pounds to 1,200 pounds a month, and that includes rent. So if I don't include rent, my spending money is usually around 300 to 500 pounds a month. That is including transportation, eating out, groceries, and a little bit of entertainment. So that's probably what you're going to be spending as a baseline if you're coming to London as a student. So in a week, that would mean around 75 pounds to 125 pounds a week in London without including rents, just to get by. As an international student myself, I understand that coming to London to, you know, live for 3 years, to complete your undergraduate degree, and also none of this includes tuition costs, of course. So the whole cost of living in London for 3 years is a lot of money. It's a very significant lump sum of money that a lot of people don't have. So I am very, very fortunate to be able to afford and be able to study in London. I feel very, very lucky and very privileged that I do have this chance. There are ways to go about it, of course. I can do a whole video on budgeting. You can get a part-time job as well. Of course, if you do have extending questions about this topic or any other questions at all, then do let me know. Feel free to drop a comment below or just message me privately. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and give it a like if it was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.